Good morning, everyone. Welcome to day 6 of Power Apps Learning. In today's class, we will learn about various data sources and how we can integrate SharePoint with Power Apps. Before we go any further, what is a data source? In Power Apps, we have to store the data when we do the data operations. So, whatever the data we store, those elements we call it as data sources. Excuse me for my throat, early morning. Okay, if you notice in Power Apps, we are adding controls and we are trying to submit data back to database. Those databases are called data sources. And when you notice here on the waffle menu, you see something called SharePoint also. When you click on waffle menu, you see SharePoint also. Right click on that, click on new tab. This is one of the critical data source we use to store data into the system. Okay. When you click on that, it will show you the page which is called home page for SharePoint, wherein it will show you all your frequently accessed SharePoint sites and frequently all your favorite sites and the sites which are shared with you. Before that, what is SharePoint? How does it work? This is called a SharePoint architecture. In SharePoint, we have something called site collection as the root element. Under site collection, we will have subsites, lists, and libraries. One subsite can have any number of subsites, and again, a subsite can consist of lists and libraries. Again, this subsite can go up to one more level. So, this is a nth degree node or a tree structure. How many subsites I can create? 10, 24 subsites you can create. Okay. In a site collection, you can create up to 10, 24 subsites. Again, one subsite can go 10, 24. Again, that each subsite can go 10, 24. It's a nth degree tree. You can keep on creating sites and can store the data into it. How do you store the data? One is into lists and the other one is into libraries. What is the difference between these two is a list is a simple Excel format, meaning you can store the data in a raw text format. Whereas library is your Windows Explorer folder where you can drop all your documents. Guys, are you able to follow me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Good.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
So
sir.
this is a high level architecture of SharePoint. In this SharePoint, there are two type of sites. One is communication sites and the other one is team sites. The communication sites are mainly meant for publishing data across the organization or making a distributed site for for major announcements and organizing a company portals and making making a portal very attractive and with a colorful UI. Whereas team sites are mainly meant for collaboration between the team members. When it comes to team sites, the UI and CSS, which is called styling, completely varies. And as per the template you select, the behavior will also differs. SharePoint has two segments. One is admin portal and the other one is user portal. What does that mean exactly is what you see here is a simple user portal. But when you go to office.com and go to admin, here you can see another option as SharePoint under admin center. When you click on that, it will show you admin portal of SharePoint, wherein you can create a new SharePoint site collection and provide all the required access, or you can take out existing access. Okay, and when I come on to home, it will show you on the landing page all the various metrics like how many announcements I have from Microsoft, and SharePoint site usage is how much is the SharePoint site usage, and how many files I have across the sites, and various other metrics, how many active users. This is my personal tenant, so you would not be able to see a great usage of SharePoint. And when you click on active sites, it will show you all the sites which are created as part of my tenant. Under this, you can see a difference between the type of the SharePoint site. And when you come here, there are two types you could see. One is connected with Teams, and the other one is not connected with Teams. What is that is in Office Office 365, there is something called Microsoft Teams. In Microsoft Teams, users can communicate each other interactively and can schedule meetings to organize project work seamlessly. This is one of the communicator organizations, IT organizations use to organize their data in day out life. Any questions so far? Anybody need to explain the same thing in Telugu? Any communicational challenges? Gopiraju, are you able to follow me?
Yes, sir.
Is everybody okay? Am I good to go next?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
And if you notice here you can see all the various teams, channels, and everything. This itself is an ocean. I don't want to go into that. Can you, when you come here, and I can just say David Wilson. It is one of the dummy account I have created in my tenant, and I can just say hi David. This is how in IT people will interact each other, and they can in fact create a meeting invite to communicate each other. Okay, after that, if you notice here, there is something called teams. When you want to create a new team to organize across the team members, or across the developers, across the testers, across the business associates, you can create a brand new team. When you click on join or create a new team and click on create a team, this one will create a new team or new channel for the set of organizers or set of members to connect each other and communicate each other seamlessly. When you say from scratch, it will create three type of teams. uh, Most of the times people will create public so that everybody can join, and other one is private. It is accessible to only the members which you create or which you add as soon as you create the team. Other one is the last one is organization wide. You can create a site, it is anonymously accessed for all the people who are part of that domain. The time you say public, it will ask you the uh, team name. I'll say as Power Apps GVP 2022. Before that, I'll show you here under connected with teams. I don't see anything Power Apps GVP 2022, right? Now come here. This is a Teams channel created while explaining Teams for students. Create. Now that it created a public channel, I can add the members onto this team, or I can skip here and later also I can add. If you notice here, it is asking a name of a person or a group, which is a Office 365 group, which is also called as AD groups. Now I'm just skipping for now. This got created. Now when I go to Teams, your Teams, Power Apps GVP 2022. Now if I come here and just do a refresh, you see that? That is how Office 365 creates a SharePoint site which communicates with Teams. The other SharePoint sites which has not connected with Teams are always straight away created SharePoint sites which are no way linked with SharePoint, Microsoft Teams. How you can create that kind of a SharePoint site is come here, say create. This time it will show you the option that, hey, how do you want to create? Do you want to create a team site or a communication site? Okay, now I'll select communication site for now. Say when you notice while you are creating giving the site name, it is also constructing a URL. This is called managed path. For now you just consider as a dynamic URL, and that this is my final URL for this SharePoint site, and this is the URL endpoint you will see as part of this SharePoint site. If you are not interested with this big, you can always edit that saying like SP. By clicking on the pencil icon, you can just say it immediately validates whether this site can be hosted or cannot be hosted. Example, I can see here demo site 1 or COE dev, right? Now if I just take it out and say COE dev, see that the site address is available with modifications, meaning it is it cannot create with the COA dev. If you want, it can create with a additional number at the end, because it cannot accept more than one SharePoint site with the same URL. But whereas if I just say SVS, SPS, GVP-22, it just creates that. And immediately it will ask you who is the owner of the SharePoint site. I've added myself as that. And as part of additional settings, you can say what is the time zone I want to associate my communication site with, and also description for this site. This is a communication site created while explaining to students. Okay, when I click on finish, it will take probably 20 to 30 seconds to create the site, and the site will be ready for our use. Now, if you notice here, this is the SharePoint site. Just click on that, it just hold. Monitor or observe closely the UI. It has a tiled zone on the landing page, and also it has something called news, events, documents, all the other areas. Also it has something called menu options, where it will navigate it onto a different locations of the site. When I click on the home, it is taking you to the landing page. When I click on documents, it is taking you a place where you can upload the documents, pages, to show you all the pages available in this SharePoint site. And when you click on site content, it is showing you all the content available in this SharePoint site. Under that, you can again create subsites, which is what we have discussed, that one SharePoint site can go up to nth degree leaf nodes. Okay, now coming back to home page, or the landing page of the site. Now you notice that it has a tiled format. This tiled format is called a hero web part. In SharePoint, a web part is a container to load or render the data from a content source. Again, content source means database. I repeat, a web part in SharePoint is called a container to load or render data from the database associated with that web part. Now let's go ahead and create the other type of the SharePoint site, which is team site. Click on the team site, say SharePoint team site GVP 2022. Again, here also it is available. Now I wanted to say as SPS team site, SPS TS. Okay, and now the site URL is this. It is, if you notice here, since it is a team site, it is also creating a group email address, which creates a active directory group in Azure Active Directory. If you try to recall, we have created Azure Active Directory user accounts, correct?
Yes, sir.
And when you go to portal.azure.com, under portal.azure.com, you can see Azure Active Directory. Under Azure Active Directory, you can create independent user accounts, or you can create groups also. When you come under Azure Active Directory, go to Azure Active Portal, Azure Portal. Under Azure Portal, go to Azure Active Directory, and there is something called Groups on your left hand side. Under Groups, you can see all the various groups you can create, or you have it as part of your tenant. And if you notice here, Power Apps GVP 2022, which got created as soon as we create this Teams channel. Remember, each and every Teams channel will be associated with one Azure Active Directory. Now we are creating one SharePoint Teams channel, sorry, Team site, which is by default expecting you to create a group email address because Teams SharePoint site is majorly used to create the communication across the team, so it is always expect a group email address associated with it. Now again, my owner is myself, and which language you want. Again, same thing. What is the type of the site? Private only members can use it or public site. Remember, when you're creating communication site, this did not ask that option because communication site by default opens for the entire organization. But whereas team site expect you to say that, hey, is it only for the members or you are creating this SharePoint site for the entire organization where anybody can access this SharePoint site. When you say this as a public, everybody in the organization will get access onto that site. But I wanted to create a private site and say that when I say next, now it is asking you to add members to this SharePoint site. Remember, whoever the members I will provide here, they will get access onto this SharePoint site. Here, there are two type of access I can provide. One is a member and the other one is owner. A member in SharePoint site can add new items to the SharePoint site or delete existing items in SharePoint site. But a owner is one level above in the SharePoint side wherein they can add items, delete items. Also, they can add the new members into the system or into the SharePoint site. I repeat, in SharePoint site, members can add new items or new documents in the SharePoint site, but they cannot add new members to SharePoint site. But owner is one level above the members of SharePoint site wherein they can add, delete the list items and they can add new files into document libraries. Also, they can add new team members to the SharePoint site. Now I want to leave David as a member, but whereas I want to add another user, Sai, as owner. Now I'll say finish. This will create another SharePoint site. Notice this. This got created, and when I click on this URL, it will open the SharePoint site. Now observe the UI differences. The same SharePoint site we created with the communication channel or communication template, but the UI of that SharePoint site is completely different. I got a hero web part here and I got some standard details on the landing page. But whereas here, I don't have like that. It just come up with a standard basic template. And now coming back to here and just say refresh, and now let's say GVP. See that I have two things. One is with Microsoft Teams and the other one is the one which we created as SharePoint Team Site GVP 2022 which is nothing but this. Now we got one Active Directory group under Azure, which we can use to communicate with all the members of this group. When I go under this group, it shows you all the members part of that group. When you see that there are total 3 members. When you click on the members here, you can see all the 3 members: David, Krishna, and Sai. This is how a SharePoint site can be created from the admin portal. And these are the two different types we can create in SharePoint. Now, coming back to the navigation of SharePoint team site, when you click on site content, you can see all the content available in the site. Under this, when you click on new, it shows you various options to create artifacts under the SharePoint site. What is artifact? Artifact is nothing but elements or objects under this SharePoint site. Here, what am I doing? I'm intended to create a list or like document library or a page or app or subsite. Let's go ahead and click on list here. A list is a container to store the data in a raw text format. While creating the SharePoint list, you can use one of the existing pre-defined template, or you can create a list from the blank, or you can create a list from an Excel, or you can create a list from existing SharePoint list. Okay, let's create one by one. Let's create a SharePoint list using a template. I'm just using issue tracker. You can try with any other. Just create issue tracker. It is giving you a synopsis or a preview of how a list will look like for you once you create a list. When you click on employee onboarding, the UI will differ and the column names will differ. Notice that the columns are work, description, completed by, complete. And when you click on issue tracker, the columns are issue description, priority, status, assigned to, blah blah blah. Now I'm interested to use this template. Use this template. Now it is asking you, hey, what is the name of the SharePoint list you want to name it? And also the description. This is to store all the issues or tickets for this SharePoint portal. Okay. Next one is show in site navigation. Site navigation is nothing but this left hand rail. Okay, if you are interested, leave the checkbox on. If you are not interested, you can uncheck this checkbox. When you click on create, it will create a SharePoint site with all the default columns in it. And how do you add the data in this is there are two ways to add the data. One is you can click on new, or other one is you can click on edit in grid view. When do you use edit in grid view is when you know that you are going to add multiple rows into the list, you will go with edit in grid view. Or if you are intended to create only one list item, you don't have to go into edit in grid view. Rather, you can click on new. When you click on new, it will open a pop-up right side to feed the data for all the list columns. See that sample not able to add new member, though I am a owner. I am a owner on the SP site, SharePoint site, but I am not able to add new members in the portal. And what is the priority? I would say high priority. Status is always new at the time of beginning and assigned to, say, Krishna. Whom do you want to assign? When is the issue reported? Reported today. And issue source if you have anything. And you can even add an image. When you click on add image, it is just asking you to provide one image, say like any of this image. And then, because when you are trying to do that, you might have noticed one error screen, so you can just select that error screen as a screenshot and you can do that. And who is logging the issue? I am adding a ticket or I am entering a ticket. It is not that I am experiencing this issue. Maybe David is experiencing this issue. Okay, you can add that and just say save. The time you save, there you go. It created one a new list item and it is also giving a preview of the issue. Okay, and you can click on that. It is just opening on that. Now if you want to add more list item at one go, click on edit in grid view. There it is. It is just starting showing you in an Excel format. When you click on edit in grid view, it will convert the view of the list into an Excel. Now say as adding a new list is not working, not able to create the new list. And again, now if you come here, you can add one more. The advantage here is I am not getting that side panel, click on new, save. That business is no more. The time I come out of this, the list item got saved. Now if I click on exit grid view, the list item got saved. Easy accessing. It is as good as when you are adding data into an Excel sheet. Are you able to follow me,
Yes,
student?
sir.
Am I?
Yes, sir.
Let me know if I'm too fast. If you want to hear anything one more time, I can tell you, because this is very important. We are going to create SharePoint list and we are going to use that as a database in Power Apps. And we are going to do the CRUD operations, create, read, update, and delete operations. Anybody need me to repeat this? Any of the aspect so far?
You know, whatever.
Edit in the grid view.
Okay, ma. Anybody else need anything else?
Hmm?
No, sir.
Simha, do you have anything to say?
No, sir.
Would you mind to just go on mute, please? Thank you. In SharePoint site, in SharePoint list, you can add a new item by clicking on new button so that it will open a pop-up here, a side pop-up window to add new item. When you want to add only a single item, or when you are okay to add item by item by looking onto this panel, you can click on new button here. It will open up this panel right hand side or a pop-up right hand side and you can submit the data. But if you know that you have multiple rows to be added, click on edit in grid view. When you click on edit in grid view, the list will let you add the data as of you are adding data into an Excel workbook or Excel sheet. What do you mean by exactly that is? When you notice here in an Excel, how do we add data? We will just add data simply by just navigating onto various cells, right? Similarly, here also you can do that. Not able to convert the list to grid view. Not able to convert list in grid view while using Internet Explorer browser. And now if I just click on new item, it automatically gets saved. If you notice, this is already saved. Now again one more. Converting list is taking long time. When I convert the list view from regular to grid, it is taking long time. This is also saved. Now if I click on exit grid, now I see 4 items. But if I had to create the same items by clicking on new, I need to say click one and enter all these things, click on save. You need to wait for the saving of the list item. Most of the times, edit in grid view people use to enter large data set at one go. Another advantage is when you click on edit in grid view and just go to Excel. Now, if you just delete this, say sample list item from Excel hyphen one, sample list item from Excel hyphen two, hyphen three. Okay, description two, three. Now, if you notice, I have three list item Excel items. Now I can copy this as it is and come to SharePoint list and just paste it here. It is that easily it will create the list items. Now if you go to exit grid view, there it is. Meaning I have a Excel data readily available. Now I need to transfer that into SharePoint list. The best approach is edit the list in grid view. Any questions? Any questions?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Are you guys able to follow me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Good. Now go back to site content. When you notice site content and say issue tracker, this is created just now. See 621. And why do I see 521? Because this is a template we have used to create this SharePoint site. 521 is when Microsoft has updated their template and all those default libraries got defined at the site template level by Microsoft. Remember, you are using Microsoft predefined templates to create your site. So all the modifications or definitions which Microsoft defined to that site will come with their defined standard definitions. Okay. Now I have created list by creating list on the template by using the template. Now let's go ahead and create a list using Excel. Remember, I can create a list by using the template, or I can create a list using an Excel, or by the definition of an existing list or a blank list. Now go ahead and create from Excel. If you have an Excel already defined with set of columns, say that first name, last name, age, gender, address. This is the list I have. Okay. Now say Krishna. Okay. Now I'm saving this Excel onto my desktop. I just saved this in an Excel. Now, what I wanted to do, I want to create from an Excel, upload that Excel here, sample list items. It will understand that Excel and it will show you how you want to. Now you see that it is asking that, hey boss, you are not providing me a proper Excel because Excel had to be defined in a table. Now go back and go to that Excel. One moment. And select all the data and go to insert and insert a table. Okay. While inserting a table in Excel, it will say that do you have a header or you want me to create a header? Ensure that you have a header by default. If you have to create header by Excel default, it will create column 1, column 2, which is nasty. Just say that. Now, if you notice here, it is just created a table as table 1. I want to define this as student details. You cannot give spaces while creating table and you cannot use special characters. So you can only create table name as without spaces only. Now this Excel got converted into a table. Save this Excel again, close the Excel. Now go back to upload file, select that Excel. Now this time I did not get that issue, right? Now it is just going here and identifying the data. Data is single line of text and this is also single line of text and this is a number field. And if you notice here, it is just giving the same header what I have as part of my Excel and also importing the data. Now go to next, just say I want to show this as part of this left navigation, create the list. Now it is creating the list and also importing the data. That is second way of creating SharePoint list in SharePoint. You see that? I created SharePoint list. One is with the template and one is with the Excel. Another way is creating a SharePoint list from an existing list. Click on existing list. It will show you all the SharePoint sites which you have access on. These are all the SharePoint site I have access on. It will show you all the various SharePoint sites and also shows you all the lists available under that SharePoint site which you can leverage to create a list here. Okay. Now say this one final sample site. Okay, let's say SU sample or like probably where is that crisis company. So I have these sites, these many number of lists. Now if I just say this or anything for that matter, just say next. It is just showing you what is the name I am going to create. I'm going to use the same name. Is that okay for you? Now I'll say okay. Now create. It is creating a SharePoint list with that definition. whatever the columns I have as part of that SharePoint site list, it will use that and it will create another SharePoint list with all the columns of that SharePoint list. Students, are you able to follow me? We have discussed three type of ways to create SharePoint list. One is with the template, and other one is with the Excel, other one is with the existing SharePoint site. Are you able to follow me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And if you are not interested in any of the SharePoint site, sorry, any of the SharePoint list, you can just click on the ellipsis icon. This three dotted icon is called ellipsis icon. Click on that and you can just say delete. It automatically deletes that list. Where do you find the deleted list? Not in your system trash icon. Under go to recycle bin, you can just see that list deleted list as part of the recycle bin. You can click on restore if you want to restore. It automatically get restores with all the data in that SharePoint list. And the last way of creating SharePoint list is blank list. When you click on blank list, it will ask you to define the list name, and then it will start create the list with the standard column. It will create only one column by default, which is title column. Sorry. Create. Now this is also creating, but it is creating only one column in this SharePoint list. And when you see that student details, it has one, two, three, four, five columns because we have defined that as part of our Excel like that. And issue tracker also has many other columns because that template has that. But whereas blank list got with only one column called title. And if you want to create additional columns in this SharePoint list, you can click on add column and it shows you what is the type of the SharePoint list column you wanted to create as part of the SharePoint site. If I want to create a single line of text, example, first name, last name, uh, and say like class titles, those are all single line of text. What is multi-line of text? Address will be a long text, which is most of the times we'll define that address as a multi-line of text. Description will always be a multi-line of text, and location is GPS location, meaning your location address you can provide, and number is a number field. These are all called data types. Yes or no, person, which is called people picker, where that is where I am able to select my name and David name and Sai name. And date and time is for date, is choosing the date and time. Choice is a drop down. Hyperlink is to provide any website URLs. Currency is to provide the money. Image is to upload the image. Managed meta type is advanced, forget about for now. Lookup is something I wanted to refer from other SharePoint list. I have one SharePoint list. I want to define one of the column, or one I wanted to refer one of the column of that SharePoint list to here. For now, just try to understand, try to use the above these columns. Forget about the managed and lookup. If you are not okay with any of these, you can always go on to more. It will take you to the classic view of creating SharePoint list column. It will show you the same things again here also same, no difference. I'll say first name. The best practice to create a SharePoint list column is never give a space while you are creating the list column, because in SharePoint there are two type of representation. One is internal column name and one is the display column name. When you are creating SharePoint site, it will create one representation internally, which you could see as part of the URL also when you are editing that SharePoint list column. Now it is a first name I am creating without space intentionally, and it is a single line of text. And is it a mandatory field? When you say the field is required, it will become a mandatory field user had to provide. And you wanted to provide unique values, meaning when I create one list item with the first name as Krishna, it system will not let me create another student details with the first name as Krishna. And what is the maximum number of characters I wanted to allow as part of the first name column? First name field is 255. What is the default text? If you want any provide any default text as part of this, you can provide. I'm just saying sample. Say okay. Now if you just click on new item, see that by default I see a text called sample here, and notice that you cannot leave this blank because it is a mandatory field and a required field. So all the required fields in SharePoint list will come with a asterisk sign by default at the end of the list column. Okay, now I'll just click on this. Now if you want to edit this column definition, you can select the drop down here, column settings. You can click on edit. It will let you edit here, or if you are not happy by that approach, you can always just go on to the gear icon. This icon is called gear icon. Click on the gear icon, go to list settings. It will show you all the various other options you can set at the SharePoint list. This is where you will see all the columns you have created as part of this SharePoint list. Now go to first name. Notice that the first name you could see as part of the URL also, field equal to first name. Now I want to just add a small space between first and name as part of my column definition and say OK. Now this time I have added a space in the display property. As I said already, when you are creating a SharePoint list column, you will have two representation. One is the internal representation you could see as part of the URL while you are editing or referring this column as part of your coding or in the browser. But the display name is just to show to the user how you want. Though I create the list column as first name, I can say as dummy column here as part of the display, and I just say OK and go to the list. I can see it as a dummy column. But internally, that column referred at the database is first name. And if you want to quickly change that, you can click on that and change it. Am I running fast? Students, are you able to follow me? Too much data I
Yes,
am
sir.
feeding today.
Yes, sir. That's fine, sir.
Are you able to follow me? Am I running fast?
No, sir. We can follow
No,
you.
sir.
Gopi Raju, are you able to follow me?
Sir,
Gopi Raju, are you able to follow me?
sir. Yes, sir.
Good. So this is how we can create a SharePoint list and SharePoint list columns as per the user requirement. If you want to create a SharePoint list column by clicking on this, you can just always just say that address, and if it is what is the data type I wanted to define, it is multi lines of text, and is it a required column or not. You can say that it is a required, or you can always say it is not required. Add to all content types, meaning that all the Uh, Content type is again advanced topic. Okay, leave for now and use it as a rich text or a regular text. You can say as a rich text. Content types in SharePoint is to define the data in such a way that I can use it multiple times. Content types in SharePoint is to use the same definition multiple times. Okay, now use an rich text format, which will give you option to format the text inside that and append the changes to the existing text, meaning that first time if I provide a data as Krishna USA, and next time if I want to add state also Krishna North Carolina USA, that has to be appended. It should not show as a simple text. Okay, let's see that how it will behave. See that and click on new. See the behavior of this. Now if I want to add, I cannot add here. I have to click on this pencil, and here I can say this is a sample text for first time entry, and I can mark this as bold, underline. This is the rich, this is called rich text editing behavior. I am able to format my data. I can raise my text font. I can in fact change this particular text into a different font as good as you are making or drafting the text in a Word document. Click on save. Say sample item 1 and say first name as Krishna. Now I'll say save. Did you notice that since it is a rich text editor, you would not be able to see here. Click on view entries. You can see the data. Go back to the SharePoint blank list option. Now create, now sorry, edit this item. And now if you wanted to add anything, notice that it is not showing here this time. This is not showing the existing text. And in fact, it is showing when this text is added. Now I'm saying like adding second line in the address field. Save it and save this. And now if you click on edit, you can see the text is getting appended here. Notice that this text got appended here. There is no way you can change the text. This is usually enables on the issue tracking and all the list items where you want to track all the changes done by various users. If you notice here, it is also storing the username, date and time also. Now, if you click on that, you cannot do this. Now, if you want to avoid that behavior, go to list item, list settings, click on the address and turn off the append text. Say OK. Now this time I can see the text as simply here and click here. Notice that I lost the text. Now if I just say I am able to see the previous text, but I'm able to, but here also this time also I'm able to format the data. Save it. This time I can see the text as a preview here directly, and also I can see the previous text here. If I wanted to change anything, I can change here like the way I want. Okay, but I am losing the track of who made these changes. In a real IT, which is really important, especially when we want to see the audit. Okay, any questions?
No, sir.
Good. This is how we can create SharePoint lists in SharePoint site. Go to site content and click on new. There is a next option called document library. As we just learned, SharePoint list is to store or maintain raw text information, whereas document library is to store the documents. Go ahead and click on document library. You can define the name of the document library as um, organization documents. This document, why the hell it is not adding? For some reason, my space bar is behaving crazy. Students, are you able to follow me? These are basics you have to learn to add or create lists to operate in Power Apps. Okay, so create. There it is. It got it created a document library. Now click on files to upload the documents. It will access all your details as part of your system. Now I'm creating simple list items here. It just automatically uploads the document. And if you want to view the document, you can view the document here. Okay, that is how a document library will get generate when in SharePoint site. If you want to add additional columns, you can always add additional columns as document type, and you can say as choice. You can define choice fields, and you can also define what color you wanted to create. For critical, always red, and this one is amber, and this one is green. Okay, and default value you can always say dummy. So this now here I can just say edit properties details, and here I can just say critical. There it is. Just give you additional information on the documents. This is how we will create a list and document library in SharePoint. Under site content, you can go onto subsites and you can just create a list. Under subsite, ideally you can create subsite. So when you click on subsite, again it will let you create a site. Here you can select templates, what template you want. Subsite 1, SS1, and you can create a team experience, classic experience, or no, without any Office 365 group or project site you can create. And you want to use the same permissions as the parent, whatever the permissions the parent has. Also you wanted to create the link on the left hand rail or not, and just say create. There it is. Now if you go Back to now, if you see again, it created one more subsite, and now I'm under this subsite. Go to site content, you don't see all the lists you created just now. And if you want to go back to parent, just change the URL to parent, and under site content subsites, you can see one subsite now. Okay, that is how you manage the SharePoint site with lists, libraries, and subsites. Any questions so far? Great. Why did we learn all this is, any question, Dilip?
No, sir.
Why did we learn all this so far is when you are creating a Power App, C is to create, R is to read, U is to update, D is to delete. CRUD. A tablet or a phone layout. Click on create. Here we wanted to add database to the Power App. When you click on the data icon on the left hand rail, click on that. You will have to select one of the existing supporting functionality or data sources. One of the data sources, SharePoint site, and the other one is Excel. You can use even Excel also. We will learn that also now. Now, when I click on SharePoint, it will show you two things. One is SharePoint sites. Remember, it is coming from Microsoft Dataverse. Do not select that. Select this. It will show you if you have a connection already. It will show you existing connections. In your case, you might not have any connections. You need to create a connection. Okay. Once you create a connection, it will just show you like this. Select that. It will show you all the SharePoint sites you have at your tenant. If you notice, this is showing a parent site as one level and another subsite as another level. Notice that GVP slash SS1, which is nothing but my subsite here. Notice the URL on the status at the end of the screen. And here it is showing as one other entry here. When you click on the SharePoint site, it shows you all the lists you have created under that SharePoint site. You can just select all the lists you want to associate those lists as part of your app. Click on connect. It automatically get add here. Now these lists I can operate here as part of my Power App. But before that, how I can use Excel here? If you come here, I can say Excel, import Excel, add static data to your app. Remember, if you use this option, you can import an Excel into your app, but there is no way you can delete or make changes to that Excel because that becomes a static data into the app. How you can do that? Deletions, updations, or additions is through Power App only because you will not be able to edit that Excel anymore like as an Excel you edit on your desktop. Let's select that option. It will ask you to import your Excel. Now I'll say sample list items. It will identify the tables in that Excel. I have student details. If you remember, we have created that Excel and created one table in that Excel with the name as student details. Isn't it? We have created that, right? Now, forgot. Where could I see that data? Table design. See that? Student details is the table name we have defined here. Let's say as table sample or sample table. Now I updated it as a sample table here. Now go back and say Excel. Again now simple sample list items. But this time it is identified the table as sample table because the Excel table name is sample table, right? Now connect that. Now this notice that the Excel got imported and I cannot do anything other than the delete. Now if I want to change the data inside that Excel, you cannot do anything. Now it became a static data to the app. We will learn how we can leverage this data into app. We will learn that shortly. And another way of leveraging Excel as a dynamic is Excel online business. Where is this Excel online business coming from? In waffle menu, if you notice, there is something called OneDrive. OneDrive is again a instance in Office 365 wherein you will use this OneDrive to store documents, but this OneDrive is exclusive for you. Nobody else can access this. Every user will get one OneDrive instance. You can dump data into this and you can use it anywhere, anytime. You can sync this OneDrive even to your standard document library or standard folder on your on your desktop also. Those are all advanced topics. I'm not here to say that this is what is the sync is here. Okay, you can upload that Excel here. Oh my god, file. I can upload that sample items here, but now I have uploaded sample list items. Now if I come here and say Excel, but this time I'm saying Excel online business. Excel online business is the connection you have to create. In your case, you don't see anything. You need to say create new connection, Excel online business. This time it will show you all the Excel files you have access on. Now you have say sample, uh, choose the location as sorry OneDrive. OneDrive for business. Under OneDrive for business, OneDrive. Come on, some reason it is not identifying. Ideally you can just you can create the you can refer that Excel here also. For now just ignore that option. Ideally you can operate that Excel which is part of this OneDrive also as part of your Power App. Okay, any questions? Students, are you able to
No, sir.
follow me? I am telling too many new things today. Okay, now go back to the screen. Today we are going to learn CRUD operations. CRUD, create, read, update, delete operations on the data sources. Now data sources or the databases. I have two type of databases here. One is the Excel static and the other one is SharePoint list. Now, what are the ways I can manipulate my data is using gallery to show all the data in the table or in the SharePoint list or in the Excel sheet. And forms is to show the data existed in that particular selected row. Now first add a gallery, and now see that the time I added a gallery, it is by default identifying all the tables or databases or data sources associated with the app. Now I'm just selecting sample table for now. See, by default it identified or it started showing all the entries as part of that table, right? How many rows we have? If you remember, we have only two rows as part of that Excel file. So what, it just started showing those two rows. Now if you want to see other columns also, how you can do that is you can just change the layout of this gallery. Now let's spend some more time on gallery. Guys, students, remember gallery is really important. Without gallery you cannot create any power app. I can give you in writing, without gallery you cannot create a power app. Now select the gallery. First thing is, if you are not interested in this view, you can change the layout. Click on this and you can just select any layout you want. Now if I just say title and subtitle, it just moved out that image. This one is image and title and subtitle. This is default format or layout get select when you add a gallery into Power App. And now if I just say title, it just title and subtitle, it just pulls out this image as part of that, and it just shows you only those two columns. And these are all the two fields. You could see under left hand rail, you could see the gallery. Under gallery you have some more controls. We know that this is a label. How do we know this is a label? Select that and you can see what is the type of the control you have selected on the screen. Now if I select this gallery, it is clearly showing it is a gallery. When I select this one, it is showing it as an icon because it is an icon, and you can just say change that icon like the way you want. And next one is a separator. It is showing as a rectangle. Yes, it is a rectangle. You could see as part of this icons here. The same rectangle will get add here, but only the behavior is, the property is different. If I just say height as 25, you could see the rectangle clearly. Okay, that is how you could see all the controls. Now if I want to make the controls one by one or into a different columns, you can always just reduce the column width and you can just move it as side by side. Now I just added one control next to each other, and I can just reduce the height, and you can now reduce the height of the entire row. Notice that when I'm reducing, it is just automatically adjusting the remaining rows also. That is the behavior of gallery. Gallery is a repetitive row orientation control in Power App. When you want to render data table or SharePoint list or Excel data into a screen with all the controls in that, the best or the right control is gallery, which shows you all the details or all the rows with repetitive controls on the screen. On the screen, notice that there is a small pencil icon on the gallery. Click on that to add new controls to the gallery. If you just select the gallery and click on label, it will not add that control into the gallery. It will add control directly onto the screen. But if you want to add it into gallery, select the pencil and add the label. This time it will add a control into the gallery and also associate the data. By default, we will learn that how we could change that in a minute. Okay, another control if you want to add, just add one more control to see the first name. Another control is to show the last name, and this one should be first name. Okay, I will show you how to change that. Now, if you select this, it by default showing this item dot first name. Notice that, and this one showing as this item dot last name. Hold the shift icon, you can just select more than one control, and you can move more than one control by just holding like that. Okay, now important properties for gallery. The first very important property is items property. This is where you will say what is the data I wanted to render or I wanted to show as part of this gallery. That is the table name. If you just change this, it will change the data into that. This is called a preview panel for the data table. Just select that. It will show you all the data in the table, whatever you are providing as part of items property. Now, the next important property is layout. What are all the layouts what is the layout you wanted to associate to that gallery? And the next one is fields. What are all the fields you want to see as part of this gallery? If you are not interested, see this label is rendering with the gender as the value, and this one see label 3 and label 4 both are associated with the last name. How could you change that? Is just change it to age. Now I see age here. Last just before I was rendering the last name in both label 3 and label 4 also. Now if you want to change anything here, you can just change that. So that is how you can quickly change the data associated with the gallery controls on the screen. Okay. Another important property is visible. If I just say visible false, everything will go off. And border, if you want to set the border and everything. Template size is the row height. Now, if I just say template height 75, notice that the row height is getting increased. Notice that now 275, it further increases. So most of the time, row height 70 would be a decent height unless you have a specific requirement to raise the height. Okay, and next one is show scroller. To show the scroller when the data is exceeding beyond the window what you could show as part of the screen. Okay, any questions?
No, sir. No, sir.
Now last property is display mode. Display mode, when I say view, it becomes just a dummy table. You cannot select this control. See that pencil became a dummy control. Now if I just make this one as edit, pencil will become a clickable control. Okay, this is there for every control. Display mode is there for every control, almost every control in Power Apps. This is how we can show the data in gallery. A gallery, another property is wrap count. How many controls I want to show here? If I say 15, which means that I want to show 15 columns side by side. Now, if I just say 2, it will try to fit both the records side by side. Notice that I see the pencil here at the end, but now it started showing in the middle because the wrap count is 2, because it is trying to fit two columns. If I say 3, it try to say 3, try to fit three columns. Notice the separator here. The separator is the one which will give you the exact you know uh, difference between the columns. This is one column, this is second column, this is third column. Since I have the uh, label length as very big, it is not sitting into the column width. Notice now if I just say 2, it is just trying to fit two columns. The gallery became two column orientation now. Now if I say 5, it becomes five column orientation. If I have five records in this, it will show you. Now if I just want to give you better view, let's say delete these controls and now see that it just shows you, uh, simply it will show you how you wanted to see that data. Now if I just say 1, it will show you one record per column, one column orientation, 2, two column orientation, 3, three column orientation. Okay, and now if I just say fields, and this one rather than as address, say first name, there it is. We will learn why do we need it, when do we need it, we will learn slowly, but just understand there is a wrap count property which with which you can change the orientation of the gallery. Okay, and template padding is to give gap between the rows. Now when I say template padding as 5, it will add a 5 pixel gap between the rows. Now if we just say that color as this, oh my bad, select this gallery and say template fill color. Now say that as 10, 10, 10 and 1. Say 255. There it is. Now if you see the gap between rows as 5 pixel. Now if I say 10, you see 10 pixel. But this padding adds throughout the row, meaning that it will add 10 pixels on top, 10 pixels on left, 10 pixels on right, 10 pixels on bottom. Now if I just say 20, same 20 pixels everywhere. And now if you add two column orientation, you could see properly. And five column orientation also, you will see properly five column orientation. Wrap count is to change the column orientation of the gallery. Okay. Gallery is very important. Play with all the properties of gallery and come back to me if you have any questions. Without a gallery, you cannot create a Power App. Okay. That is how you can associate the data. Now if you want to change the association, you can always come here and just say like issue tracker, but the time you change that, it will automatically change the data in that. Now if you change the orientation to 3, you will see that difference. 3 columns. Now if I say 5 5 7 7 columns orientation of the gallery. Okay, are you guys able to follow me or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And say that 10 pixel, there it is. See that now it became a tile orientation. Now my gallery is showing the records, but the records are coming in a tiled format. Okay, that is how a wrap count will help us. If it is only just a row orientation, make it as one row. If you want to make it in a tiled format, make it as uh, wrap count to 5. Okay. Another thing, notice that the scroll bar, because the height increases the row orientation to very high row level, so it automatically has to show the remaining rows, so scroller bar automatically appeared. If you just disable that and just say 120, it will just show. There is no way you could see the scroll bar, but you can just scroll up and scroll down to see the records. Okay. Now, if I just go here, go to gallery, edit fields, here I can just edit the fields with whatever I wanted to associate, which we have seen just before also, right? Now, if I just say name, it comes with that, status comes with that, and value, since status is a choice field, it is coming like that. Now, ID comes with the ID of the list item. Okay, any questions? Again, I'm telling you, gallery is really important. Play with each and every property of the gallery and come back to me, and I will explain you if you have any questions on any of the property. Okay. I don't want to pump
Okay,
too
sir.
much
Okay.
knowledge on day one. Tomorrow we will learn CRUD operations, CRUD operations. Okay, how to use forms. We will deep dive onto gallery, and we will learn farm controls also. How we can use farm controls, we will learn, and how to do the data manipulations also. We will learn tomorrow class. Tomorrow class is very, very important. Do not miss tomorrow's class. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask your questions. If you don't have questions, that's it for today. Have a nice evening. If you have questions, stay back and ask the questions. If you don't have questions, you are absolutely good to leave, which is our class format.
Sir,
Yes, sir.
sir, I have also already created the sites in SharePoint, sir. But the thing is, నాకు కాలమ్స్ క్రియేట్ చేసేటప్పుడు సైట్ నేమ్, సైట్ అడ్రస్, సైట్ డిస్క్రిప్షన్ అండ్ లాంగ్వేజ్ సెలక్షన్ ఈ 4 ఆప్షన్స్ మాత్రమే వస్తున్నాయి. బట్ యూ హ్యావ్ ఫిల్డ్ సమ్ అదర్ మోర్ కాలమ్స్ ఆల్సో.
Go to more, you will be able to see all the other data types.
ఓకే సార్.
It always depends on the size
థ్యాంక్ యూ
of the
సార్.
screen. I'm using a bigger monitor.
ఓకే సార్. థ్యాంక్ యూ సార్.
No problem, buddy.
సార్,
Yes, Dilip.
అంటే ప్రీవియస్ క్లాస్లోని కలెక్షన్ కోసం మాట్లాడాం కదా సార్. అంటే కలెక్షన్ అనేది డేటా అనేది టెంపరీగా స్టోర్ చేస్తుంది, పర్మనెంట్గా స్టోర్ చేయదని.
Mhm.
ఇప్పుడు సార్ మనం షేర్ పాయింట్స్ కోసం మాట్లాడితే షేర్ పాయింట్ అనేది డేటా పర్మనెంట్గా స్టోర్ చేస్తుంది మనకి.
Oh no.
ఇప్పుడు మనం స్క్రీన్లోని సపోజ్ నేను లాగిన్ పేజ్ కానీ ఏదైనా రిజిస్టర్ కానీ ఏదైనా నేను డేటా ఇచ్చాను కస్టమర్ కోసం కనెక్ట్ అవ్వడానికి. సో అతను పెట్టిన ప్రతి డేటా అనేది షేర్ పాయింట్లో వెళ్ళి స్టోర్ అవ్వడానికి మనం యూఆర్ఎల్ పెట్టి యూజ్ చేస్తాం, లేకపోతే ఏదైనా దానికి ఉంటుంది.
అది రేపు క్లాస్లో చూద్దురు కానీ అది.
ఓకే సార్, ఓకే సార్, థ్యాంక్ యూ సార్.
అదే క్రౌడ్ ఆపరేషన్స్, క్రియేటింగ్ అ రో ఇంటూ షేర్ పాయింట్ లిస్ట్. అది రేపటి క్లాస్లో చెప్తాను. వెయిట్ అండ్ వాచ్.
ఓకే
సార్
సార్.
సార్ అజ్యూర్ న్యూ యూజర్ క్రియేట్ చేస్తుంటే నాకు ఎన్నిసార్లు ట్రై చేసినా మాటి ప్రాబ్లం వస్తుంది సార్.
మాటి పాటికి ప్రాబ్లం ఎందుకు వస్తుంది సార్? ఏముంటుంది సార్?
అనేబుల్ టు క్రియేట్ యూజర్ అని వస్తుంది.
మీరు ఎవరుగా లాగిన్ అయ్యారో చూడండి. మీరు సూపర్ యూజర్గా లాగిన్ అయ్యారో లేదో చూడండి. మీరు లాగిన్ అయినటువంటి యూజర్ సూపర్ యూజర్ అయితేనే మీరు క్రియేట్ చేయగలరు, లేదంటే క్రియేట్ చేయలేరు. డబుల్ చెక్ చేసుకోండి ఒకసారి.
ఓకే సార్.
సార్ మనం సబ్స్క్రిప్షన్ క్రియేట్ చేసుకున్నప్పుడు మనకు ఒక మెయిల్ ఐడి అనేది జనరేట్ అవుతుంది కదా, దట్ మెయిల్ ఐడితో లాగిన్ అయితే సూపర్ యూజర్ ఉంటారు సార్.
అవును సార్.
సార్ యాక్చువల్లీ నాకు కూడా సేమ్ ఇష్యూ సార్, యూజర్ అనేది క్రియేట్ అవ్వట్లేదు. అండ్ ఐ హ్యావ్ చెక్ మై అకౌంట్ ఆల్సో. అంటే మీరు ఇప్పుడు సూపర్ యూజర్ అన్నారు కదా, సేమ్ మెయిల్ ఐడితో లాగిన్ అయ్యింది, బట్ ఐఎమ్ అన్బుల్ టు క్రియేట్ మై యూజర్ హియర్.
స్క్రీన్ షేర్ చేసి చూపిస్తారా?
షూర్ సార్, జస్ట్ సార్. ఇట్ మై స్క్రీన్ విజిబుల్ సార్?
నాట్ యెట్ లోడింగ్. ఓకే, నో
Yes sir.
గో టు హోమ్. Issue active directory. Users on the left hand side. ఉన్నారు కదండి.
సార్ అంటే న్యూ యూజర్ మనం క్రియేట్ చేస్తున్నాం సార్.
ఇప్పుడు వీళ్ళందరూ ఎవరు? ఇవి మీరు క్రియేట్ చేసినవి కాదా?
నేను మ్యాచ్ చేసిన కాల్ సార్.
మీరు యాడ్ చేసినవి కాదా?
నో సార్,
ఏం మాట్లాడుతున్నారండి?
నాకు కంప్లీట్గా యూజర్స్ క్రియేట్ అవ్వట్లేదు సార్. నేను యాడ్ చేసిన డీటెయిల్స్ కావాలి సార్.
Go back once. See users, under users, search for your name Manoj.
Yes, sir.
You are a member. Why are you a member? You cannot create as a member.
Okay, sir.
Just a minute.
Yeah, sure sir.
Okay, try now. Unable to, the specified password does not comply with the password completely. Password కొంచెం కాంప్లెక్స్ పాస్వర్డ్ ఇవ్వండి స్వామి.
ఓకే సార్.
Manoj@123 అలా పిచ్చి పిచ్చి పాస్వర్డ్స్ కాకుండా కొంచెం కాంప్లెక్స్ పాస్వర్డ్ ఇవ్వండి. మనోజ్లో M క్యాపిటల్, మనోజ్ కుమార్ K క్యాపిటల్, యువర్ డేట్ ఆఫ్ బర్త్ ఇవ్వండి.
ఓకే సార్.
Done?
ఓకే సార్.
Done?
Yes sir.
Simha, try the same way.
Thank you sir.
Thank you, sir.
ఓకే సార్, థ్యాంక్ యూ సార్.
Sir, am I gone in the wrong way? What happened? May I know sir?
పాస్వర్డ్ స్టాండర్డ్గా కొంత కాంప్లెక్సిటీని ఎక్స్పెక్ట్ చేస్తుంది మనోజ్. ఆ కాంప్లెక్సిటీ
Okay,
లెవెల్
sir.
సరిపోకపోతే ఇది క్రియేట్ చేయనివ్వదు. సింపుల్ పాస్వర్డ్స్తో ఎజ్యూర్ యాక్టివ్ డైరెక్టరీలో యూజర్ అకౌంట్స్ని క్రియేట్ చేయనివ్వదు. వెన్ యూ క్రియేట్ అ కాంప్లెక్స్ పాస్వర్డ్ అండ్ మెట్ విత్ ది కాంప్లెక్సిటీ ఆఫ్ ది పాస్వర్డ్ లెవెల్, ఇట్ అలౌడ్ యూ టు క్రియేట్, రైట్? మీరు చూసారు కదా, మిమ్మల్ని అలౌ
Yes.
చేసింది కదా.
Yes sir.
పాస్వర్డ్ నాట్ స్ట్రెంగ్ది ఎనఫ్, అంత మించి ఇంకేమీ లేదు.
Okay sir. Thank you sir.
Go ahead, next. Any other questions, students?